Okay, I'll start with the poem that I wrote this morning. 2 weeks in hell. Two wakes at the Clark funeral home, a week apart for two different friends. The death of another friend, a funeral. The worst case of bronchitis since I was 14. And politicians yelling at each other, thousands dying in the Ukraine. But the weather has been beautiful. Many very old friends, and new friends are still with us. My wonderful family is still intact. I live in a wonderful neighborhood, town, and area of New York State. My health will get better. So now like Dante, I begin my ascent. And coming through all those deaths brought me back to a little book that I wrote in 2022 called Absent Friends, and it's about people who are no longer with us. One of them was a long-term member of the Mahopac Writers Group, Charles Milo. Charles Milo is a very interesting, multifaceted man, raised as a Jehovah's Witness, a faith he was in turn confused by, embarrassed by in school, secured as a young adult, estranged from as an adult. He was a commercial fisherman, an entrepreneur, a restorer of art objects and antiques, a writer, and always an observer. I knew Charles only for about 10 years when he was a member of a writers group that met weekly. He wrote inspiringly of himself, of his confusion of a Jehovah's Witness child and teen, of the tragedy of a wife's slow death from illness, of his horror of a racially motivated murder in his fishing community. And he wrote well. Moreover, at the beginning, he usually sat across the room from me, and I was often impressed with the insight and kindness in his criticism of others. The later, after he became ill, he would come in late and would sit next to me. And when a writing was particularly bad, he would growl quietly out of the side of his mouth, "What bullshit or fucking awful," but would not embarrass the writer. Charles was bulkily solid, profane, strong mentally and physically, funny, and had a great heart. When he became ill, he knew, as we, that his diagnosis of pancreatic cancer was terminal. But he carried on as the same person, following medical advice, going through testing and procedures, coming to meetings, physical and virtual, taking help from group members when offered and needed, writing until it was over. I miss him, as do all the members of the group, and several of them are working to get his book published. I hope it happens. They did get it published. Then the other person who's no longer with us, Kevin Devine, CSP. That means, by the way, Catholic Society of Paulist. Was born in Inwood, one of five brothers, one of whom became an FBI agent, arresting mafia types. The other became NYC police officer that led the Pipers of Fifth Avenue every year in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. In short, it was a family of service. Kevin became the Paulist priest and then came back to serve in Inwood. He was a CIO moderator overseeing the basketball and baseball teams in which I played. He would also oversee the Friday night dances and walk around saying to those who were dancing very close, "Leave room for the Holy Ghost." 50 years later, he remembered me replying, "The Holy Ghost is spiritual, Father. He can fit wherever he wants." That was a bit of a wise ass. Ben was off to become a chaplain, and then off to Vietnam, where he won both a Silver Star and a Bronze Star. 50 years after that, he produced a wonderful video, Peace. After serving all over the world, he came back to Inwood, and now was my friend rather than overseer. On the Friday night after 9/11, he organized a twilight parade for solidarity and strength through Inwood, and I proudly carried the American flag in the parade. When the Paulist left Inwood, replaced by the Franciscans, Kevin moved to another Paulist parish in New York, but always came back and to the memorials and reunions. Fittingly, his funeral on April 10th, 2021 was held in Inwood Good Shepherd Church, where he served for so many years. It's available online. In the over 65 years that I knew Kevin, he went from an overseer to a friend to my American hero. I repeat, a priest, a Silver Star winner, the peace advocate. Do I have time for one more, David?
Go
I
right
guess I
ahead.
do. Robert John McMullen, always called Buddy or Bud, was the best person I ever knew, a model of Christian charity. He was a college professor for over 40 years, the Christian brother of Ireland for 25, a married man for over 25, and a gentle person for all just 70 years on earth. The last decade of which he was racked by terrible Alzheimer's. He taught me in 2 courses when I was in college, 2 well-deserved A's, and threw me out of class once, and taught me in other ways for all my life. He was my brother. Thank you for putting up with my death stuff.
Thank you, John. Sorry, folks. If I don't answer right away, might be several screens away answering somebody in the chat or something. So no worries. That's why I'm not ignoring you. And also